You'll get to see 3 drafts in a row before we get to the matches.
All right, here we already see Kodama's Reach, Soulsfire, Unburial Rites, Prismatic Lens. All right, let's go back. Celestial Colonnade, that's a decent card, but not something you want to pick up early. Unburial Rites seems like a card if you want to go into Black-White Reanimator.
Yes, that seems to be a very powerful card. Not even necessary to go into Black-White Reanimator, but also if you want to go like some kind of 4-color green deck, a bit of ramp, a bit of mana fixing, it would also fit well there. Soulsfire is great if you want to go red. I do like red in this format with all the madness synergies, but in terms of power level, it seems to be worse than both Unburial Rites and Kodama's Reach, I think.
Yeah. The good thing about Unburial Rites, as you said, you don't even need to be black. If you have a way to put it in your graveyard, you can only just play it for white. Or if you're just black without or with very little white, you can just play the front side right away. And it sets you up quite well, but doesn't really lock you in right away.
That said, if you go black-white, then Unburial Rites is perhaps the best common or uncommon in the entire set. Generally, the plan of the black-white archetype is to just reanimate big creatures from the graveyard, given that you do have Resurrection at common.
Yeah, there's Olmoc's Crusher, something that you do want to bring back. He also put Chainer's Edict, Generator Servant, surprisingly, as well, to the front. There's Archaeomancer, could work with Unburial Rites, if you want to go fancy.
Yeah, nothing in this pack would really entice me to switch away from, say, the Unburial Rites. Chainer's Edict is a perfectly fine removal spell. I would actually be looking at the Ulamog's Crusher because it's such a sweet target to Unburial Rites, but that may be going too deep into like a specific archetype. Chainer's Edict is like a solid all-around card. Maybe if you end up in like any other black archetype, it's gonna be the better pickup.
Yeah, and that's why I like Unburial Rites, because you might want to reanimate, something very big, but even sometimes just reanimating like some sort of flyer to beat your opponent down with is actually decent enough.
And now Arna has 2 flashback cards, so self-mill cards become more valuable.
Right, so let's see if he finds anything for him. Slum Reaper, Icatian Crier is a decent enabler. Stinger Fling Spider is put to the front, as well as the Malevolent Whispers, Hooting Mandrills, Spark Spitter, but he's looking at the 2 black and white cards. The Icatian Cry now, it seems to be a favorite. Bridge from Below, not the best card.
No, that's a bit too hard to enable. If you want to stick with the black-white plan, then Icatian Crier is probably the best one, given that it acts as a discard outlet for your reanimation spells. On the whole, it's kind of a medium card. Hooting Mandrills and some of the red cards are also quite powerful potentially. But it looks like Arne does like this black-white reanimator plan.
Yeah, I do like Icatian Crier. He did pick up a little bit too early for my liking, but the pack wasn't that particular. So, Fiend Hunter and Ulamog's Crusher in the pack. He's getting quite a bit of a selection. Look at that. There's also Firing Phoenix, Galta, and I saw Hero of Lane Tower still in the pack, a card that's really good in Green White Heroic. Fiend Hunter is probably the best pick, unless he wants to get the Eldrazi that you mentioned.
I would indeed be looking at Fiend Hunter. Worth noting that God's Willing is also in the booster, so white seems to be open. I definitely like picking a white card here. And Fiend Hunter, well, it's an excellent removal spell for the best creature on the other side. Plus you get like a free 1/3 blocker out of the deal. That's excellent for 3 mana, one of the better white uncommons in the set.
Great, I mean, especially after his previous pack was a little bit disappointing, and now he's getting a pack with all those goodies. Unholy Hunger, Buried Alive, Fate's Fetters as well. Jeez, the cards are just flowing now for Arne Huschenband.
I mean, I would love for him to take the Buried Alive to set up some sweet Unburial Rites, but Fate's Fetters is just the better card. So that is let's say the disciplined pickup. I might be getting excited to go for this Buried Alive, but Fate's Fetters 5th. It is actually one of the better commons. So white must be really, really open.
Yeah, I'm getting way too excited. I'm getting chastised by my crew for being too loud, and because the players apparently can hear me. So I'll calm down a little bit here. Let's see what else there. The Grave Scrabbler in the next pack. Galactic, another card for his black-white deck. Hyena Umbra as well.
This feels like kind of an anti... Well, Reckless Worm is pretty good, but it doesn't really go with anything he has picked up so far.
Yeah.
I guess you can pick up Hyena Umbra to keep the option of a white heroic deck open. The Grave Scrabbler, well, you have an Icatian Crier as a discard outlet for the madness.
It goes for the Grave Scrabbler. It's okay with the Icatian Crier. Not particularly exciting, but you can make it work if you get more discard outlets. like an Olivia's Dragoon or something similar, which is going to be good in your black-white deck
Yep.
anyway.
He doesn't really have many creatures yet.
Yeah, there is. Speaking of creatures, there we go. He finds a Crow of Dark Tidings, Ghoul Chorus Compass as well, and a Soulsfire that he was looking at in his first pack even, and then this is going quite late.
I definitely like the Crow here.
Same.
As I mentioned earlier, he started with 2 flashback cards, so self-mill cards become more valuable. If you mill over a flashback card, it's like drawing a card effectively.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, with Umbrella Rights, it's
Yeah.
just gravy. The dream of milling Umbrella Rights and a big guy.
The Crusher came back.
No, it's still not the 9th pack, right? So he does pick up the Crusher.
Sure. It is need the 8th pick
The 8th
only.
pick, yeah.
No.
Still great pickup for him. No one seems to want those Crushers just yet.
But then that's, I think, the 3rd Crusher we've seen
Yeah,
in this
it
entire
is,
round
yeah.
of boosters. Lots of Eldrazi's around.
Yeah, someone
But,
might be trying to build a ramp deck. You know, we've seen like Kodama's Reach and Verdant Eidolon is another card that can able to ramp out these big dudes early.
Yeah, with the Annihilator trigger, if you get it out early, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, you see, though, this is I think that this might be the pack he opened.
This is the pack he opened,
Yeah.
indeed. I mean, Cathodian is just a fine playable. Mark of the Vampire, if you pick up some Wingsteed Riders, could be
Sure.
quite good as well.
Goes for the Cathodian, just a good ground blocker.
No,
And sometimes he can even power out the Nullbox Crusher if he has a sacrifice outlet.
I would love to see that happening.
Same.
Playing it is a bit of a liability when there's Wiccaboar Elder in the format, but
Yep, indeed.
still.
Alright, there's another Grave Scrabbler, Repel the Darkness. Goes for the Scrabbler. Getting some decent value here. Like his deck seems like it can do some interesting things and generate card advantage in those grindier games. But he still needs a little bit of help. Slum Reaper made its way back. I think he might be.
That's a fine playable. I
Walker
think.
of the Grove though might be like he might think about it. It's a good reanimation target.
Yeah, but then would be on the splash. And
but goes for the Slum Reaper.
There's not a whole lot of fixing in this format, and well, Slum Reaper synergizes nicely with Icatian Crier.
Okay, no one wants those Crushers. He picks up a second one here with only 4 cards left in the pack.
I think I will be happy to see that.
Yeah, and I think
So-
he was sending decent signal. I mean, he did pass some decent black cards in the Unholy Hunger earlier. There's I think the Sigil of the New Dawn.
Yep, that's a good combo with stuff like Martyr of Sands.
I mean, it's a legitimate strategy.
Yeah.
There's
Heap
a-
Doll.
Yeah, and passing the Crushing Canopy to his left. And last card is going to be...
We'll only get a quick look.
Miming Slime. Okay, not exciting. All right, but he's picked up a lot of potential playables. I'm counting like 12 cards that he could possibly play. So, like, and they're all on color. He got really good signals that white is open pretty late. He got those reanimation targets in those 2 Ulamox Crushers. And to me, his deck seems like, he can dirt a little bit in the early and mid game and try to get some card advantage with the Crier, the Scrabble, and so on, and just start slamming Ulamox Crushers.
I like what I'm seeing so far. The headline of this deck is the Unburial Rights for the Ulamox Crushers. And he does have at least 1 discard outlet in the Icatian Crier, some self-mill and Crow of Dark Tidings to set it all up. He has several good removal spells. That's never bad. Right, the Fiend Hunter, the Fate's Feathers. I think Arne will be happy with this first pack. He just started with Unburial Rights and got past a decent collection of cards for the Black-White Reanimator deck.
What do you think he's looking for in the pack, Impact 2?
So, apart from another Unburial Rights, I would say that some of the key cards that he's hoping for is like Angel of Despair. That's like the prime reanimation target, and casting it for 7 mana is also good enough. Or just cards like Resurrection, Miraculous Recovery, right? Additional reanimation spells. Or maybe additional discard outlets, self-mill cards, maybe even the Buried Alive to set it all up.
Yeah.
That is generally what the plan of this black-white archetype is revolving around.
Yeah, the Buried Alive didn't wheel Remember? So someone picked that up already.
Yeah, but I guess that was fairly late.
Yeah, true.
Then again, why would you be picking Buried Alive if you're not gonna be reanimated? Well, there's cards like Vengevine maybe, or who knows.
Sure. Like on the other hand, like there could be someone picking up some Resurrections, fairly
True.
highly, and trying to set up his own Black White Reanimator deck in a bit of a different way. But also remember something that's becoming kind of lost in the shuffle of the hype of Magic Arena and drafting with bots. I hate drafting. Still a very valid strategy at the highest level. But let's head on down and see what is he going to pick up here. Canker Abomination. He puts that to the front. Dark Dabbler, Vessel of Endless, Bloodflow Connoisseur. This is a really weak pack for Arne.
Yeah, if you're in black and white, there's just not much. I agree, Canker Abomination is probably the best card in the pack for him. I mean, if you play it as like a 5/5 for 4 or even a 4/4 for 4, it is way above rate. But it doesn't really particularly synergize with what his deck is trying to accomplish. Save All Delete is an option if he wants to secure the early part of his curve. For the Bloodflow Connoisseur, I don't think he has many sacrifice synergies. Yeah, it looks like he wants to lock up the 2-drops.
But he's not going to be happy about that. It was a really weak pack for him.
Yes.
But judging by the first round of packs, he should still be placed real well to get past some good cards. You mentioned the Angel of Despair. It's the mana cost of requiring 2 white and 2 black just can really make sure that it's going to come back.
Entomb. I definitely like that one. You can put Ulamog's Crusher into the graveyard, ready for Imperial Rites. You can search for any card, so you can also just search for Imperial Rites and put it into the graveyard.
At instant speed.
Yes. I like this one a lot. I remember playing Entomb in Constructed, the Entomb Reanimate decks, and those were super powerful. I think we're still seeing those in Vintage even. In a way, Arne's deck, if he keeps picking up cards like this, could resemble a Vintage Reanimator deck. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely is looking for now additional reanimation. In fact, discard options. And there was an Ecadian Crier in the pack as well.
Yeah, he might wield that one.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. There's a Heels Field. That's the Vengevine you mentioned earlier.
Oh boy.
Ulamog's Crush, Margaret the Vampire, Iridescent Drake. Not great. I mean, the Pilgrim does look for the Fate's Feathers.
Yes, that is the key card to get, one of the better ones. I mean, I would love for the Vengevine to get in there, but it's probably going too deep, even with an Entomb. He just doesn't have many creature spells in the first place, so that's probably not the wise pickup. Heliod's Pilgrim searching for Fate's Feather seems fine. Shirai, well, if you pick up stuff like Martyr of Sands or maybe a bunch of Fume Spitters, you can set up some combos, but that's pretty expensive.
Yeah, and you can probably maybe wheel it as well and see if it works later on. Actually, I got crushed by Shirai twice. Once it gets going, it's very good.
Yep. Definitely not the third pick that Arne was hoping for, but it fills out his deck.
Ooh, Spider Spawning. That's an interesting one. That he could think about splashing again. Something he can discard, flash it back if he has enough creatures in his graveyard. Has that Ecadian Crier as well? You
can Entomb it. But then if you draw it naturally...
maybe you have to discard it. He goes for the Ecadian Crier, but I'm sure he considered it a little bit here. At least, but as you said, the fixin is not great in the set, so it's always a little bit too ambitious. But he really needed the Crier. Yeah,
it's a disciplined pickup. He already has several reanimation cards as well as madness cards, and you do need a critical mass of enablers. That holds for any archetype in this format, but especially this one.
All right. Oh, Angel of Despair. And
Slam
the Spider Spawning.
Well, that was the easiest pick so far.
So far, yeah. And I told you, these sorts of cards will wheel because like players are already locked into their archetypes.
Yeah.
And like double white, double black is just very, very ambitious for most decks. So
the 4 players to Arne's left are definitely not drafting Black White Reanimator. Exactly, I can tell you that much. Angel of Despair, even if you hardcast it for 7 mana, it is a really good deal. Yeah. But if you can get it out on turn 5, for example, with Imperial Rites, oh boy.
Yeah, and now Arne may be hoping for some more reanimation effects, maybe like a Resurrection or the Miraculous Recovery.
Yeah. Resurrection is common, so we are having a good chance of seeing it.
Angelic Renewal, not exciting.
Angelic Renewal has all kinds of wacky synergies, for example with Evoke cards or like Lotus Eye Mystics. But I'm not sure his deck currently has as many of them. Maybe just a Canker Abomination, you just have a serviceable body.
No.
Wait.
Songs of the Damned. No, you're not doing that.
No.
There's the Abomination. Trusty Tree Folk Horror.
Yep. Even with Entomb, Songs of the Damned is not gonna make it.
I mean, with Buried Alive, maybe. All right. Skyscraper Cavalry, another Ulamog Crusher, another Canker Abomination, Reviving Vapors. If he thought about splashing blue here.
I mean, the effect is definitely way better than like any of the black, white, or colorless cards in the pack. But yeah, it does require a splash. He does go for another Ulamog's Crusher. That's his third one, I believe.
Yep.
At some point, you just have too many 7+ creature drops, even in a reanimation deck. But
Yeah, this is pretty empty pack here. There's a Bloodflow Connoisseur that fits into his colors, and not much else. There's still a Malevolent Whisperers in the pack too.
I guess
Archaeomancer.
I guess the Connoisseur with 2 Iketian Criers can
Sure.
eventually grow to like a ridiculous size. So if you are really scrounging for playables, might make that work. Then again, you don't really want to be sacrificing Ulamog's Crushers or Angel of Despair to this one. So.
True. All right, there's another Connoisseur. Vessel of Endless Rest. He could actually think about picking
I like that one,
up,
yeah.
because it accelerates into Crushers. Plus, it could enable him to splash a little bit here. He's considering, but he goes for another Bloodflow Connoisseur. Doesn't want the Vessel just yet.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I didn't value that card as highly, to be honest, in this archetype. But maybe Arne has different plans, or maybe good experiences with the Crier plus Connoisseur combo. No?
Oh, there's the Cry. He did wheel it, as you mentioned. Yeah, and it's still Marcher of Sands Grave, Scrabbler there as well. He goes for the Criers. Now he's up to 3 Criers.
Yes.
Yeah. Still, I think he would like some Olivia's Dragoons, because the Iketian Criers take a while to set up.
Yeah, and they're also diminishing returns. Like having 1 on the battlefield, that's nice. But
Shirei, look at that.
Additional ones. I mean, this 4th Ulamog's Crusher, he's not gonna be playing that one. Shirai, he currently doesn't really have many combos with it. I guess with the Bloodflow Connoisseur, but Heliod's Pilgrim, but he only has 1 real enchantment.
Yeah, he still doesn't have the Fume Spitter, so I mean, he can start sacking the Criers, right?
Yeah, though then you're paying a whole lot of mana to set up an engine that doesn't give you all that much.
Yeah, Awful Snout into the sideboard if he faces another reanimation deck, maybe, or a very heavy, I don't know, flashback based deck.
Yeah, and just making sure that opponents don't have it against you.
Songs of the Dam, are we doing it? I don't think so, but he picks it up anyway. Passes Stitch's Apprentice to his right. And he gets another one of his own, so... Interestingly enough, this pack didn't go as well, but it had some highlights.
The main highlights were Entomb and Angel of Despair. Those are 2 cards that really improve his archetype. For the rest, yeah, he picked up a bunch of middling creatures, and a Iketian Crier, which is relevant as a discard outlet. But on the whole, this pack didn't really give him all that much beyond the Entomb and the Angel of Despair.
Yeah, I mean, he really needs some more reanimation if he wants to make those Ulamog's Crushers work, because I already see a little bit of anti-synergy between like Iketian Crier, because you're discarding your extra lands, but if you need those lands if you want to cast Ulamog's Crushers, so it's a little bit of tension in his deck already. So let's see what he has going here. He's happy about some of those cards. There's the Angel of Despair, Canker Abomination, Ulamog's Crusher, double Bloodflow Connoisseur. As you said, okay with the Crier, and he might end up playing the Shirei, Shizu's Caretaker, if he manages maybe to pick up some like Fume Spitters.
Oh wait, Shirei with Fiend Hunter and Bloodflow Connoisseur, I think that works.
Oh, I think it does, yeah.
Right, you can play Fiend Hunter, then sacrifice it to the Bloodflow Connoisseur in response to its exile trigger. The creature will then be exiled basically permanently, and then Fiend Hunter returns with Shirei. So you can set up kind of a loop like that.
Like a mini loop, yeah.
It's a 3-card combo, but
I mean, with Unburial Rites as well, it's definitely possible, and I'm pretty sure he can pick up some more synergies with those cards. So I actually like what he is up to here.
But what Arne really needs is just more reanimation cards. He has the single Unburial Rites. He has Entomb, which can effectively search for Unburial Rites, so that kind of counts as a reanimation card. But he will be looking for Resurrection, Miraculous Recovery.
For another Unburial Rites?
Yeah.
That would be the dream?
That would be the dream. Like Resurrection is common, so that's the most likely one to see. But Yeah, as always with these decks, you're trying to find the perfect mix between enablers and different combo pieces. Big creatures to reanimate, he has plenty of them. Ways to fill up his graveyard, right? 3 Acadian Criers, that's enough discard outlets. But reanimation spells, those are the, let's say, the bottleneck right now. He doesn't really have many of them yet.
Yep. So let's see. Pack 3 incoming. It looked pretty decent in the first set of packs where he got past some late Fate's Feathers and Fiend Hunters. So hoping that white will be open from the right side.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure the person to his left is probably drafting black because he didn't see that many great cards in black. Plus, he did pass a pretty late Unholy Hunger himself, so it would make sense.
Indeed.
To his left is Kazu Takanaide from Japan, I think.
Should be, and then he's passing to Andre Smetana.
Yeah. All right, waiting for the signal from the judges here.
And after Arna's draft concludes, we will get to see the draft of Mark Tobias, followed by the draft of Pascal Viren before we even get to the match play of round number 10. So I'm definitely looking forward to see a lot of drafts in this format today. It's basically the last Masters set for the foreseeable future, given that Wizards announced that they were going to focus on other sets that also include reprints, but they certainly didn't hold back for this one. It's filled to the brim with sweet graveyard synergies, and let's see what's in this pack.
What is the Dispose of the Vault, Last Gasp, Unholy Hunger?
Well, Last Gasp is one of the more efficient removal spells in the format.
Yeah,
that seems perfectly fine.
Yeah, he's picking that up, but it's a pretty decent pack with an Ether Snipe as well. But Last Gasp is a serviceable removal spell, only costs 2. And that's exactly what he needs to have some interaction in the early game to be able to get his synergies on later.
I suppose of the Vault, well, if you want to name like Burial Rites, there's a good chance of just dying to it. I guess if you name Ulamog's Crusher and play 3 of them, then,
sure.
But I still don't like the math behind it, especially when you can just pick up Last Gasp as a solid all-round removal spell. Doesn't really synergize with this deck, but that's not necessary for a great card like that.
Yep. Yeah, Last Gasp is a good pickup, and he's really hoping for some resurrection here. Ghoul's Tea, the Phyrexian Altar. Another Last Gasp, okay.
Yeah, seems to be the best. Ancestor's Chosen is a sweet reanimation target.
Agreed.
But he already has more than enough reanimation targets between Angel of Despair and 3 Ulamog's Crusher. So he doesn't really need more of that, whereas Last Gasp, that just fills like the early part of his curve, make sure that he doesn't die to fast aggro decks. No.
Yeah, one card that I'm eyeing in that pack is Phyrexian Altar. You know, maybe some fancy stuff with Shirei, sack your tokens from a Acadian Cry to power out stuff. Like
I hope that one wields, and I hope he puts it in his deck.
I still think he won't, but
even if it may not be good or consistent, it's like the sweet synergy that I enjoy seeing.
You could power out the turn 5 Ulamog's Crusher.
Yeah.
You know, if you play Acadian Crier, next turn activated, and
that doesn't sound so bad actually.
Fate's Feathers, another one. Just like pack 1, he's getting a late removal spell. He's been just the Last Gasp, now Fate's Feathers. Also has the Moan of the Unhallowed and Sky Spear Cavalry.
I like to pick up a Fate's Feathers here. He also has a Helios Pilgrim. I believe this is like the second enchantment only.
Perfect.
So this makes the case where you draw Helios Pilgrim and 1 Fate's Feathers way better, because then you still have a Fate's Feathers left in your library to search.
And now, like, his deck seems like it might not be like a super focused reanimation deck. It just seems like a good control deck.
Indeed.
Like, with so many removal spells, and like he has the Grave Scrabbler potential card advantage with Acadian Criers as well. A little bit of combo with the Bloodflow Connoisseur if he wants to, and the top end with the Angel of Despair and any number of Ulamog's Crushers he wants. Another Bridge from Below. There's an Emancipation Angel, I think, in the pack as well. Tetmos High Priest, Sanitarian Skeleton, not very exciting.
No, for Tetmos High Priest, he doesn't really have many ways to target it. Bridge from Below, like with 3 Acadian Criers, could generate some value, but it's still not exactly reliable, and casting it that literally doesn't do anything. The Emancipation Angel is a solid creature for its cost. The Sanatorium Skeleton works quite well with all the Ecatian Criers.
That's true.
Maybe you want to have that one. Because you can just discard it, raise the alarm, bring it back from the graveyard, discard it again.
I just think, it's too good to be covered on its own. Emancipation Angel, 3 mana, 3/3.
And probably the skeleton might just wheel.
Exactly.
If you don't have the Ecatian Criers, you're probably not as interested.
Yeah. Mammoth Umbra, Slum Reaper, Ghoulsteed, maybe.
It's kind of a discard enabler if need be.
Yeah.
Although Slum Reaper, right? When you sacrifice a 1/1 token and the opponent might have to sacrifice a better one.
Sure.
No, you don't want Slum Reaper in a deck with 2 Fate's Feathers. That's a no-go.
Not the greatest combo, but Ghoulsteed seems okay.
Yep.
It's still deciding.
No, don't take the Slum Reaper. You don't want that in the 2 Fate's Feathers.
He already has
deck.
one too.
Well.
It's the second one.
He'll probably find out when sitting down for deck construction that it doesn't really fit what he's doing as well.
I mean, he can still sandbag it in a way. There's another Ecatian Crier. Oh, Leovold.
Nice. Value.
No one's in Sultai? How surprising.
I mean, the 4th Ecatian Crier doesn't really do anything for his deck. That card has big diminishing returns. You might just pick up the Leovold for your collection.
For his legacy deck.
Yeah.
It's a legacy staple. Yeah, he goes for it. And he's going to have a good memory of this Leovold, picking it up in, at 9-0 in Ultimate Masters.
Yep. And yeah, as I said, like there was nothing in this booster that he would be happy to put in his deck. The 4th Ecatian Crier. At some point, you just have too many of that type of effect.
Crow of Dark Tidings is nice here.
Yes.
Flagstone's Choke here, not what he wants, but I think the Crow is going to fulfill a very decent role of milling him a little bit and giving him some more flyers. With all his removal spells, I think he'll be happy to have the Crow, but he's still unsure about it.
No, he definitely wants to take it. Maybe you don't want like other people to pick up the Flagstones of Trocaire because you are the Ulamog's Crusher deck, and then you give your opponent like a free way to get around the Annihilator. But the Crow synergizes so much with what his deck is doing that you just need to pick it up here.
Oh, Mono the Unhallowed. Ooh, miraculous recovery.
There it is.
Last possible instance of where he could pick it up.
That was the last booster. Slam it.
Wow.
That is exactly what he was looking for. And in the very final pack where it could still appear, yep.
A great pickup there from Arne Huschenbed. That makes me very excited about, and he was excited as well. He really flicked through the pack very quickly.
Like it literally doubles the amount of reanimation spells in his entire deck.
Yep. Whew, he'll be very, very happy about this one. It's really good at instant speed as well, returning an Angel of Despair. There's a Vessel of Ender's Rest, another Bloodflow Connoisseur. I suppose of the vault that we talked about.
I don't think you want that third one. We just take the Vessel. I like that card, and also you don't want opponents to have it when you are building around a reanimation strategy.
He goes for the Connoisseur.
I mean, that's also a card that has diminishing returns. Having one onto the battlefield, that's a useful effect, but when you have two, well, you can only sacrifice a creature to one of the Connoisseurs, so...
Yeah, there's the Ancestor Chosen making his way around. Also, Sigil of the New Dawn, Conviction. Yeah, this is still a decent pack.
I like the Chosen. At worst, you board it in as a sideboard card against aggressive decks. Then it's potentially an excellent reanimation target, gaining you some life.
Yeah, the original Crawl Foragers. All right, God's Willing.
That is a very late God's Willing. Is literally no one drafting Heroic.
It doesn't. There was a Conviction in the previous pack as well. Like it didn't really seem that way. And there were very few Heroic cards. Beckoning Apparition is a good sideboard pickup as well if he faces off against another deck with potentially with reanimation spells. And the Sanitarian Skeleton did wheel.
Yep.
But I'm not sure if he wants it at this point. Like if he wants to go super grindy, he could. Yeah, he does pick it up.
It is a combo with all the Ecatian Criers that he has, so I like having access to at least one in your deck.
Yeah, look at that. Such a late Wild Hunger.
I guess also, so no one is drafting Heroic, also no one is drafting red-green, I guess.
Yeah. His deck looking okay, and I think he has plenty of cards to choose from. He has to find his synergies. Oh, look at that. Ecatian Crier.
Yeah.
Second to last. But no Olivia's Dragoons in the whole draft. Like we didn't see a single one. Would have been quite nice in his deck because of like flying, a free discard outlet, Madness Enabler.
Indeed. On the whole, I like Arne's deck. It has like a decent mix of reanimation spells, discard outlets, and big relevant creatures to reanimate, along with an Entomb to add to the synergy.
Right.
So and of course a bunch of removal spells to make sure that he doesn't die.
Yeah, what do you think are the highlights of his deck from what we've seen?
Definitely Unburial Rites, Angel of Despair, and Entomb. That is what he's trying to assemble.
Yeah, perfect. All right, that's it from Arne Huschenbett draft. We're going to see him play a lot of Magic in the upcoming rounds. We have more drafts ready for you after these messages.